Hello, hello, hello. This is the Morning Garden. And the only reason why I'm on today, a second time, for a second time today, is because today is Arbor Day. Happy Arbor Day to all of you out there. This is the Morning Garden. And I want to share some stories today about my first fruit tree that I first purchased and how that came about. And I think Arbor Day is a very special day. I mean, we have to give so much credit and so much respect to the trees that we have around us because if it wasn't for those plants, we wouldn't be here. And that is a big deal. So, Arbor Day, uh, my tree, uh, my first tree was a peach tree that I purchased online, and it was from a shop that should not have been in business. I can't remember the name of it. Um, it's called USA Nursery or something like that. And the tree was like 9.95, and I bought. I think I bought one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I think I bought seven trees the first time out. I bought seven trees. Uh, Peach trees did well. One was a Hale Haven peach, and the other was a what they call a sweet Georgia peach. Sweet Georgia peach never did well here in Zone 7B. I can honestly say that because if I think back over the whole 4 or 5 years I've had the tree, I've never got any fruit from the tree. The Hell Haven, however, has produced fruit, and that was very exciting and a good deal. Um, the trees got very large, I would say, even though they said it was dwarf, and depending on the rootstock that it was, the tree still got very big, and it was 15 feet before I knew it, and 10 feet across, and it was just ridiculous. And I kept saying, "Wait a minute!" And I kept going back reading the ad, and the ad said the tree should top out at 4 feet across, 8 feet tall, or something like that, and something to that effect. Now, a lot of the trees I got did die because when they came here, they were dried out. They were trees that were definitely in bad shape. So what I did was I got the trees set up where um, put them in good soil and remember not to fertilize the first time out. So I did not fertilize the tree. The peach trees did well. The plum trees all died. They just kept dying. I would order more from them, and they would die. And something told me give it up on those, or at least find out what's going on. So I did some more research and found out that heavy clay soil is not only a problem with most vegetables, but also with trees as well. So, uh, and so some of the trees are doing quite well. I have 15, excuse me, I have 25 trees now. Those 25 trees this year produced some apples, some peaches, um, and then I also finally got those plums, and those plums are now beautiful, healthy trees. And the Stanley plum is a gardening person's favorite plum usually to get. It's a dark purplish fruit with a bright yellowish inside, firm, sweet, and that's what made me get that tree. I also purchased one called the oh God, I'll come back with the name at another time because sometimes when you have so many trees, you just can't remember all the names of all these trees. But they were Santa Rose is the name of it. That's it, the Santa Rose, and that tree is a standard. So I'm going to do all I can to keep that tree small because I don't want any large trees on my property. And my uh, Bartlett Bartlett tree is doing quite well. So I'm all set with the trees, and I'm happy with them. So there we go. We're going to do the best we can here to keep our trees healthy. And and I'm still on the fence about spraying my trees. I met a lady years ago that was telling me she grew apples and also peaches, and she said she did not spray her trees. And I said, well, how are you able to get fruit from your trees without spraying your trees? And she said, I don't. I just I get all the good fruit that I can find, and I don't spray my trees. Is there anyone out there that could leave the message now or leave it later that they have done well without spraying their fruit trees? Fruit trees, when you get into fruit trees, uh, there seems to be an old standard that you must spray or use some type of insecticide, some other kind of way to deal with the insect, as far as damaging the fruit. Now, I saw something this year that I thought was interesting on my apple trees. I have some apples that are misshapen, and I'm thinking that's due to insects. I'm not sure, but the apples are still growing, but they're kind of, they're not smooth and round. They're like little dents here, little dents there, and those are honey crisp apple trees. The only ones that produced well this year were the honey crisp apple trees, to be quite frankly honest with you. The other trees are growing beautifully, but show no signs of any type of fruit, any type of fruit at all. So, oh, hello, hello. I see all the hand waves there. Uh, but it's just a beautiful thing to get into, which is fruit trees. It adds value to your property. They look good if you raise them right and you put them in the right location. Um, and and I'm just happy that I put them in. I'm going to do one other thing. I keep thinking about adding one or two more trees, and my lady says, "No, you really do have enough trees. You have 25 trees, and you've got them in high density planting for the most part, and they're healthy and they're doing quite well. Leave them alone. Don't put any more trees in. Your whole yard is pretty much coated. Greetings. Uh, Pretty much coated in trees. I mean, so all around the fence line of my property are trees, and I also put in the kiwi. And kiwi, for some reason, each year will produce fruit. This is the second year it produced, but the fruits are hard. Um, and I don't understand why, but they are. They don't seem to ever get ripe. So I don't know what the deal is on that, but they are producing fruit. Not a lot of fruit. Oh, how are the apple trees? Okay, let me tell you what's going on with the apple trees. Um, Only the Honeycrisp apple trees produced. Why that is, I have no idea. The Granny Smith didn't produce, but it's a healthy, uh, growing tree. The other one, which is a pink lady, and also the Fuji. All of those apple trees are growing beautifully, but they're not producing. They didn't produce any fruit this year, and so I called Stark Bros and asked them about it, and they said, "Oh well, it's they didn't really know. I don't think they really knew." Oh, okay, okay, yeah. I don't have that problem with animals, except for maybe at times when I have fruits and vegetables that are on the ground, they'll go for that corn, they'll go for that possums and um, uh, I guess what do you want to call them? It's a rodent, but it's a raccoons. That's what I want to say. Raccoons, they eat the corn and that sort of thing. But my trees, nothing. Oh, and my grapes have been eaten by birds, and my blueberries have been eaten by birds. And the only thing I don't like about that is that they don't leave any for me. That's what I don't like. They don't even leave, not even nothing. They won't leave a thank you note or nothing. So I'm gonna have to deal with that at a later time because they took all the grapes. I mean, they stripped them. And what I didn't understand is why were they stripping the grapes? Um, they were stripping the grapes, and the grapes weren't ripe. They were just green grapes. And I'm saying, wait a minute, they must be pretty hungry because birds usually strip off fruit when it's reached a point as far as sugar is concerned. So yeah, that's interesting how they do that. But you know, I don't mind sharing as long as they don't take all of it. But the cherries this year were weird. They came in, they were misshapen and small, um, and then eventually dropped off. The tree, I keep an eye on the tree because I lost one last year, a cherry tree. It just it produced a ton of cherries, no leaves, and then it died. And then when I took the tree out of the ground, I rocked it one way and the other way and realized it had no roots under it. So I'm thinking, what happened here? There were no roots. Their roots appeared to be as though they rotted away or were removed by something. I don't know. But the tree that was next to it, maybe 5 feet from it, that was also a cherry tree, appears to be green, full of leaves, and like I said earlier, and it's doing it's doing okay. I mean, it doesn't show any signs that anything is wrong with it. So far in my orchard, I've lost trees, but one that was an adult tree, a 4-year-old tree. I've never lost one like I lost this last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, I had to rock it out of the ground back and forth, and it's a certain technique to that, but it came right out of the ground. I mean, it came out so easy. It was like it was, it's been dead a long time. But I was really sad about that because it was a tree that I nurtured for 4 years. Um, that's a good question. I'm gonna tell you what I do with my kiwi. At the beginning of the year, the vine starts to wake up, and it does it really quick. That's why some uh, kiwi don't do good in cold areas because the blossoms will keep dropping, and it'll do like damage to them because of the cold. Here's what's going on with my tree. It's doing quite well. It is, uh, I mean, my vine, excuse me. It has a kiwi in there. When you look through the leaves, you see all the kiwi hanging together in groups. But when you feel them and you squeeze them a little bit, they're hard. Right now is the seventh month, 20th, and the the fruit is hard. So I need to do some research on that. When do you pick these fruit? How do you, or what does it mean when they stay hard like this? Last year they stayed hard, and then when I looked back into the leaves, all the fruit were gone. Um, so I'm thinking either this vine is too young, and that's what I'm hoping, it's just too young, or oh hello, or there's something else going on. Because this is a single kiwi vine that produces fruit because the type of plant uh, it is set up to produce even without a second plant. Hi all, hello, hello, hello. I like that. Everybody's coming into the conversation, and they're very courteous, and they're saying hello. Um, but that being said, I'm not giving up. There is some more work I need to do to find out why my fruit investment isn't doing as well as would hope. I know I did high density planting, and I know that sometimes stresses um, high. Uh, I know that stresses a tree to a certain degree. Um, but I got really excited when I heard about planting trees in high density, which my trees are planted 21, 22 inches apart in some parts of my yard. And when you look at the trees, you see that they're big and they're healthy. Um, the trunks around are as big as your as, well, big as your arm, I guess, and a big healthy trees. Oh, sorry to hear that. Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh man. I I often thought about doing planting a fig tree, but I don't know how they taste. And I would hate to plant something and let it grow forever, and then find out I don't like the way the fruit tastes. But up here, when we go in Lowe's, we see. Oh, okay, okay. Now, I've never considered gophers. Never considered them as being a problem because I don't have any. I've never seen it. Well, I can say I've never seen a gopher. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen holes in the ground. I think I've seen one hole over the whole 18 years I've been here, and it was one hole in the ground. And I said, "What is that?" It was a hole, maybe about that big around. Wait a minute, no, about like that, and it ran deep. And I'm thinking, "What is that?" Huh? So I think I'm gonna do some research on that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Yeah, gophers can be nasty to roots. I mean, um, oh, okay. I didn't know they get that aggressive. They be just eating up everything. Um, I think that if I had a gopher problem, I would want to. Hold on. Okay, okay, okay. So the roots is what they eat. They like to eat the roots. I think that I want to try to find out about the gophers, and I also want to try to do some more research and find out about trees in general. If you plant them close together, because there's a gentleman that he I can't think of the name of his show. He's on YouTube. He plants everything close, and he does quite well. Um, he plants everything close. He's known as the high density gardener. I think is what his name is, and he plants everything close, and he does quite well. So I don't think that the trees being close together might not be my issue. I think what I'm dealing with right now is some kind of soil issue, some kind of like you said, it could be a mold that killed that tree. But as far as the trees producing, um, some people say you need to feed the trees. Well, what I do is I put wood around the base of my trees, cuttings and leaves and things like that. And I figured that would be enough because you don't. I mean, trees survived long before you had big box stores and people going out buying bags of fertilizer. Trees were always here before we ever got here on this planet, and don't need us to survive. That's my thinking on that. Trees don't need you. It's just that when we put them in a bad situation, um, they tend to not do very well. I see people put trees on neighborhood blocks, and they put a 4x4 spot, and they drop them in the center, and they leave them. And then the tree moves the cement and pulls up blocks of cement and grows a big, massive trunk and moves these big plates of cement. And it's sad. And when you see that, and then the tree, after a few years, dies because it was never meant to be put in an area where it could not get food, where it could not do what it needs to do to survive. I mean, in a little small, And then they take this mulch and mound it up like a volcano around the trunk of the tree, and it's just sad because they don't know how to properly plant a tree. Now the information is out there. There's so many people that they can ask the question of, or they could try to, do it the correct way. Yeah, I'm having a problem with that. It's like the birds have found the food supply, the blueberries, they found the grapes, and they come back repeatedly to those areas to eat. That's what I'm thinking. So I must do something. Um, the old lady says you need to net these when you see them on it. You need to net these because they're eating them up. And what's the point of growing them if you're not going to get any of the berries? And I said, well, I'm considering something. But I had a bad situation happen where I put in I put bird netting around a blackberry bush years ago. And when I did that, came home and I found a dead bird in it, And then again, was another instance where I was getting ready to go to work, and there was a bird struggling in the nest, in the netting, and he looked kind of threatening. So I didn't want to touch him and get bitten or anything like that. So I tried to shake him from the netting, and he died immediately. He just died, and I kept thinking, how did he just die like that? And he actually um, just died. I mean, heart attack, his heart stopped, and I didn't like that. So I said, never again. Well, I used this. Let's see, nets are expensive. And that's cheaper. Oh, okay, thank you. Now I wasn't aware that they actually damage the plants, but I guess if you're trying to pull them free once you've grown your fruit to the size you want, yeah, you can damage them actually removing them from it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Morning Garden Show, and I will be back. And again, I'm asking everyone to let me know what days and time you want me to come on, that I can maximize my viewers to come in and see me, and we talk to each other and we find out what it is we need to do to make a better, more successful gardening experience. Thank you. This has been the Morning Garden.